Hey there, it's Kat and this is Brews and Reviews. It's day 2 of the Orilium Autumn Equinox Readathon and the Summer Mixtape Readathon, and I'm doing really well. So I decided that I was going to start a vlog because I'm feeling really happy about how my reading is going so far, and also it'd just be nice to vlog, so here we are. If you guys haven't seen my TBR for these 2 readathons, it's giant. I think there are 20 books on it, something like that, maybe more. I'm not sure, it's a very daunting prospect. But I think that actually has pushed me to read quite a lot very early in the month. So we're going to celebrate that now because it will inevitably tail off towards middle, end of the month, you know, when I get slumpy later. But I'm doing well now, so we're going to talk about it. So yesterday I finished off a buddy read with Kayla from Crack Into a Good Book, and we were reading Rapsodic, which is the first book in the Bargainer series. It's a book from, I think, like 2013 or something, and it's about fae and supernatural beings that live in our world, so it's an urban fantasy. It reminded me very much of Labyrinth fanfiction, which I used to be a very big fan of, even though there were bits of it that seemed a little bit like predictable, and there were a couple of typos throughout the ebook. I just really enjoyed it. It was a really good time. I really liked the flirting and the tension and the fact that obviously there was darkness elements involved, as the bargainer is also the king of the, I think it's the night kingdom court thing. Anyway, it was very cool. I liked it a lot. I will say there are trigger warnings for abuse and rape specifically. Quite a lot of that. So yeah, it is a major thing. And dealing with trauma does happen, but like if you're not comfortable reading about those things, then you just really don't read this book. Also, one of the characters is just the most annoying character ever. I don't know what the author was thinking when they wrote them, but every word that came out of their mouth, the dialogue was just, oh, I couldn't be near this person. It was very odd, and like every sentence you would punctuate it with like bitch and be like, how are you doing, bitch? Tell me what's going on, bitch. I don't know, it just made me uncomfortable how that character was talking, and like it wasn't a real person that was speaking, which is just a bit annoying. But yeah, I'll definitely be picking up the next book in the series because I want to know what happens with this. There is still an ongoing mystery that I would like to uncover, and I just realised I didn't tell you what this book is about at all. It's essentially about a woman who murders her stepdad, makes a deal with a guy called the Bargainer, and then he disappears from her life for like 7 years and then comes back to reclaim his debts. So the next book I read was Hyperion by Dan Simmons, and I'm so proud of myself for having read this one because I've been procrastinating this for so long. It's a 20+ hour audiobook, and it's kind of harder sci-fi, and I'm really good at procrastinating that. I'm really good at just saying, oh, I'll do that later, but no. I read it now, and I'm really glad I did. I actually really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars, and I was kind of surprised by that. So the story of Hyperion is that there are 7 people who are journeying to go on the last pilgrimage of the Shrike, which is this like weird religion, deity, metallic bio thing that just kills people. It's really strange. Yeah. And they're all journeying there for their own personal reasons, because once they finally get to the Shrike, the idea is that one of them will get like their wish granted and the others will all die. So you follow them on their journey, and they each tell their stories as they're going, and the stories are so interesting. So it's almost like this book is made up of completely different mini stories that are all interconnected with each other. And I really liked some of them, and I really didn't like some of the other ones, because there are some characters that I was just like, wow, I just really hate you. Like, I don't want to listen to you. I'm talking about the poet. He was the worst. I think the stories that stuck with me the most were the one about the priest at the beginning. I think that's like the first story, and the one about the girl who reverse ages. That one also made me think, and it's like fucked with my head a little bit. There's a lot of time manipulation in this book, and it's good because I read it for the time travel prompt and it definitely fit that. So that means I got my O level in psionics and divination, so I'm happy with that. Then next up I read No Exit by Taylor Adams. This book I read as an unseasonal read. It was a reread for me. It takes place actually during Christmas. I had forgotten it was like a Christmas thing. But there's snow everywhere, and like the main cause for the character getting stuck in a truck stop is that it snowed too hard and one of her windscreen wipers breaks, so she has to pull over into a truck stop. I still love this book the second time I've read it, and I don't think that happens very often with thrillers. I was still very entertained by the main character making both smart and some stupid decisions, and you just like, oh yeah, because you would make that decision, and that was good, and then you're like, oh, it didn't work out though, did it? It's good. I enjoyed this book very much. So those are the books that I have finished so far. I'm also about 2/3 of the way through The Spanish Love Deception, and I am finding it okay. I'm not loving it and I'm not hating it. I think it is very generic, and I haven't had anything that I wouldn't expect. Hey guys, Editing Cat here. I just wanted to hop on and say there is going to be talk about disordered eating in this next section, so if you don't want to hear me go into a little bit of depth about that, then skip until the picture of a Spanish Love Deception disappears from this section. I won't talk about it in another section where I talk about Spanish Love Deception, but for this section I'm going to be talking about it, so just feel free to skip that. It's a weird thing because it has made me smile a couple of times, but there are elements of it that I don't like at all. Like the eating thing, how the main character is like starving herself because she's going to a wedding, and she like almost passes out at one point, and I was like, I'm really not a fan of this. I mean, I know people do it, but I don't want to read about people starving themselves because they think that they need to look a certain way, and a lot of characters do tell her off for doing it. I don't know, I just don't want to read about it, and I feel like maybe that shouldn't have been such a prominent factor. It is very noticeable that she keeps saying, oh, I haven't eaten anything today, or I'll eat later, I feel ill, oh, I'll eat later, and get a drink of water, that'll help. And I'm like, I don't want to hear about that. I don't know if there were any trigger warnings, because obviously I only had the audiobook, but I feel like it could have been mentioned that maybe there was going to be discussion of that or not. I don't know. So yeah, that's where I'm at up to this point in the month, which is the 2nd of August. So there's plenty more months to come, hooray. I'm actually going out to eat tonight and then going to the cinema because they are replaying Robocop at my cinema, and I've never seen it, and my friends tell me off for the fact that I've never seen it. So while it's at the cinema, I might as well go and see it. So yeah, I'm gonna have pizza and watch Robocop. It's the 4th of August now, and I finished another book, so here we are talking about it. The book I finished was The Spanish Love Deception, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Now, it's really interesting because this book gave me a lot of mixed feelings, and I know a lot of people ended up really not liking it. I think I'm looking at it from a stance of I enjoyed the overall thing. Like I was sitting down to watch a rom-com, where you turn your brain off and you just enjoy it, and you know that there are some stupid things that happen, and it's very, you know, predictable and unrealistic, but it's kind of nice. It's like comforting, and I think that's the stance that I took with reading this book. I don't think that it's anything special. I don't think that it's anything particularly new or inventive, and I don't think we really got into the heads of the characters kind of as much as I'd have liked to, and sort of seen more of their personal conflicts. There was some of it, but not really all of it. I don't know. It was very surface level, but that was also kind of what I was looking for. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think if I was rating it more critically, it would be a 3 out of 5 stars, but I'm rating it purely on enjoyment, because I did actually end up enjoying it. I think, though, this rating might have been slightly tempered by the fact that I read it in 2 halves, because I didn't enjoy the first half, the pre-Spain half of this book. I was a bit like, and the whole eating thing really just put me off. And then I read the second half of the book just all in one, and I enjoyed it much more, because that was much more what I was just like, oh, you know, comfort, you know, nice times sort of thing. So I think the beginning of the book is much lower than the end of the book, and they did get together very quickly and decide that they loved each other very quickly. So I'm a bit like, but I don't know, I had fun, I enjoyed it, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This is not a technical rating, please nobody judge me for this rating. I found it okay, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I just want to share with you is that I got some bookish mail, and I am very, very excited for this. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have this book in my hands. So it's Quiet Thunder by J.P. Harker. This book was sent to me for review by the author, and you may know that I have really enjoyed the Caledon saga. This is like a novella that is in the same world but doesn't feature the same characters. I've beta read this book and I fucking loved it. I think it's my favourite book that J.P. Harker's written. I just really had a great time with it and enjoyed it a lot. So seeing the final copy, I'm so excited to read it. I just want to read it again. It's also a much easier way to get into the Caledon Saga because it's much smaller than the others. I don't know if you can see them. They're here. They're quite large. Definitely worth it though, and the writing only gets better as you read through them. So I'm very excited for this. I'm almost thinking, can I fit this onto my TBR this month? I can't. I've got a 20-book TBR. There is no way I can add more books to this TBR, but I really want to, so yeah. I finished another book, so let's talk about it. The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. So I had thoughts about this book, and most predominantly the thought I had is that I didn't like it. I think that this is a well-written book. I think that the story is interesting. The story is about a man who revisits his childhood home, and then he starts to remember something that happened to him when he was younger. So the main bulk of the story is told from the perspective of a 7-year-old boy who has sort of fantastical horror things happen to him. And I don't want to say too much because it's kind of spoilery, but there are some sort of magical things that are happening. I think the reason I didn't enjoy it so much is because so much of this... Okay. Stop it! I think the main reason I didn't actually enjoy this book was because you're having all of these things happen to this child, and yet nobody is believing him, and I just really don't like that. It makes me quite upset when somebody is having all of these things happen to them and people don't believe them. It makes me just feel really, sick, almost. All of these things could be happening and no one believes you. I just think that's horrible. It's just the general tone of it. And there are actually child abuse things that happen in this, mainly as a result of the fantastical things that are happening and the horror elements, but also I didn't like it. I didn't like it. There's also a cat that dies really early on and people are just like, oh yeah, ran over the cat, oops. The main character cares, but everyone else is kind of just like, cat. And I didn't like that. Obviously, you guys know me, I hate when animals die and things, and it just felt like that was a start of the tone that I didn't enjoy, where it was just like, yes, people die and horrible things happen and people don't give a shit about it. It made me uncomfortable. I didn't like it. I'm struggling to verbalize how it made me feel, but it was just uncomfortable in general. So I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars because I do think it was well written and I think it was worthwhile actually reading it. I just didn't like it. So it's the end of week 1 of both of these readathons, and I'm going to end this here and just do weekly vlogs. Maybe let's see how my commitment goes and how my reading goes. But given that I've read 6 books in the first 6 days of August, I kind of feel like this vlog is enough and a new one can start any further reading that I do for these readathons. I doubt I'll be able to continue this rapid pace of a book a day, because that is wild to me and I just don't know how I'm going to keep doing it. So let's just do a little wrap up of the books that I've read and the challenges that they complete so we can see where I'm at. Let's go through the summer mixtape prompts first because I think it's a little bit more straightforward. I read Redemptor for reading a book with nature on the cover, No Exit for reading an unseasonal read, and The Spanish Love Deception for read a book set in another country. So I've completed 3 out of the 5 reading prompts. And I finished 1 out of 4 of the self-care prompts. So the prompt I managed to actually complete here was to read in a sunny spot and share your setup. You can see me reading Unravel the Dusk outside and it was a nice time. I had a very nice time. It was very sunny and yeah, it was good. So moving on to the Orilium Autumn Equinox Readathon, I've completed 3 of the career prompts and 2 quests. So the career prompts that I have completed are an alchemy O-level. So I read a book on someone's worst list that you might like, which was The Spanish Love Deception. Then I got an O-level in Art of Illusion, a book you don't know much about, and for that I read The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. And lastly, I got an O-level for Psionics and Divination, a book that features time travel, and for that I read Hyperion by Dan Simmons. The quests that I completed were to read a book with a shrubbery on the cover, and for that I read Redemptor by Jordan of Hueco, and I also did a buddy read, and that was Rapsodic by Laura Talasia, and I read that with Kayla from Crack Into a Good Book. So I feel like I've been smashing this so far. I don't know how I've managed to have this huge momentum. It's definitely not going to continue. I'm definitely going to burn out before probably the end of the next week, but we move. So if you made it this far into the video, please leave me any sort of shrubbery/plant emoji. That would be great. I'd really like to know that you actually made it this far. And if you enjoyed this, I'd really like to know if you made it this far. And if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!